Now, I made the mistake last year of showing a little bit of confidence and a little bit of faith in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know why, I just did. I think part of it was this was a team with a young quarterback coming off of a 2016 season where they were pretty close to the playoffs, keeping most of their core intact, assuming another year of growth and development for quarterback Jameis Winston, and knowing the nature of what the NFC South had been for so many years, I'm like, somebody new is going to win the division. Felt right to me to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First mistake, apparently. Woo! That was a rough one last year, wasn't it, fellas? Yeah. You got Jameis get hurt. You got Jameis missing games. The team was a bit of a mess last year. A long ways away from what I anticipated them being. Yeah, kind of ugly, needless to say. And it's interesting to me every year when we start talking about picks and predictions, you'll have people that always think differently with a variety of teams. But then you'll usually get that consensus of most people think a couple or a few teams are going to be really, really good. And then on the flip side, there's that kind of almost unanimous consensus that this couple of teams is going to be really, really, really bad. And it's interesting when you think about a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that a lot of people seem to be aligned with me this time that this is going to be a pretty bad football team in 2018. And if you're a Bucs fan, maybe that upsets you. Maybe if you're a Bucs fan, you agree with that. Maybe if you're a Bucs fan, you don't. But if anything else, look at it this way. Maybe you'll get a reverse Jeff Jinx this year. We know the Jeff Jinx can creep up when it comes to me with some of your teams out there. And last year I was high on the Bucs, and they went crack the bed, if you will. Maybe this year, when I'm on them, they'll find a way to be the floaters that kind of rise to the top of the toilet bowl. Never know. That's why they play the games. But yeah, I'm not high on the Buccaneers in 2018. I mean, what was their big move in free agency? Going out and trading for Jason Pierre-Paul? I mean, this is a team that desperately needed an edge rushing presence. Jason Pierre-Paul brings an edge rushing presence. So, I look at it and I'm like, okay, that deal kind of makes sense. It cost him some draft pick currency, but it wasn't too costly to get a guy that could produce at Jason Pierre-Paul's level. It's not a bad deal for this Buccaneers team because they needed to get better at defensive end and they needed to get better now. And then when you look at the draft, getting Vita Vea in round 1, Ronald Jones, Carlton Davis, MJ Stewart in round number 2. When this team was sitting there originally at 7 and able to peel back to 7 to 12, it was crazy to me because I'm like, you're able to get 2 second-round picks to move down 5 spots in the draft. And the guy that a lot of us thought you were going to take at 7 in Derwin James was still on the board at 12, and you passed on him. That was stunning to me. It still surprises me, and it tears me a little bit because on the one hand, I felt like Derwin James was a perfect fit for them. I thought Derwin James was the type of alpha dog in the back end of that secondary that they really lacked and they really, really needed. And combining that with being close to best player available at that point in time in the draft, it just felt like one of those win-win-win, just freaking do it type of things. But they didn't go that way. They addressed the trenches with Vita Vea. And look, I'll say this. While he wasn't my ideal choice for the Buccaneers, the more I get removed from it, the more the pick at least makes some type of sense for me. You've got Gerald McCoy still at the tail end of the peak of his career. You need somebody else next to him, especially in running situations. And Vita Vea is going to be a significant upgrade in the middle of that defense on rundowns. How much he provides as a pass rusher remains to be seen. But you bring in a Jason Pierre-Paul to help your pass rush a little bit. Now Vita Vea helps you significantly in the running game, and he should be some type of impact there from day number 1. It's not that I hated the Vita Vea pick. It's not that I don't think he's a really good player because I had a first-round grade on him. I liked Vita Vea a lot. It's just Derwin James to me was different level. But again, that doesn't mean it's bad. Now, when you look at Ronald Jones, is he going to be the type of back that can come in and contribute big as a rookie? I thought he could be. I don't know that the preseason returns have been all that great, but preseason is preseason, and we'll see what happens once we get to the real deal. And then as far as the defensive backs, Davis and MJ Stewart, they're going to need those guys to play well right away because their secondary in Tampa stinks. When you look at this team, what do you point to as like being real strengths? Defensively, I look at their linebacking core with Levante David and Quan Alexander and at some point in time Beckwith. It's a pretty good linebacker unit. So the middle line of that defense is pretty good. You still have Gerald McCoy, one of the best defensive tackles in football. Now you bring in Jason Pierre-Paul. So you have a couple of pass rushers on that front four. I don't know if that's enough to say they're going to have a great pass rush, but it is improved. And then offensively, I look at that skill group, specifically the receivers and the tight ends. It's a pretty good unit. You got Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, you got Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard. You've got some weapons to work with there. So if you don't do well offensively and you can't move the ball consistently offensively, specifically through the air, the problem is not the talent around the quarterback. The problem would then be the quarterback and or the system and play calling. But I have a lot of concerns about this team this year. That secondary is young, and I still don't know how good it actually is. Feels like a place that this defense is going to get torched a lot, especially if they can't get home more in the pass rush and get to the quarterback and disrupt their timing and rhythm. I look at that running game. What are you going to count on? Peyton Barber? Is Ronald Jones going to be that guy? There's a lot of questions there. And then I look at this team without Jameis Winston the first 3 games of 2018. It's not a good place to be. And you look at them, and even once you got Jameis Winston back, what are you really getting? But you could also see last year when Jameis got hurt and then he missed some time, this team was just not the same. It's less than an ideal thing to go into a season without your starting quarterback for the first 3 games of the year. So that's a significant concern to me, especially when you look at this team and the gauntlet that they're facing in terms of their schedule for the season to come, especially in the early part of the year. You look at September, your first 3 games without Jameis. You got to go to New Orleans, oh boy. You got to host Philly, oh boy. And you got to host the Steelers, oh boy. And then even week 4, you get Chicago, but you've got to go to Soldier Field. And granted, that's Jameis Winston's return back to the lineup. But the Bears are an improved football team. So it's a really tough stretch for the Buccaneers to start off the season. Their first 4 games, none of them gimmies. The first 4 games, none of them easy or guaranteed wins. 3 of them without your starting alleged franchise quarterback. And then even when you get them back, you got to go to Chicago against a potentially elite Bears defense. Have fun with that one. And then even when you look at their schedule in October and there's 3 games, you got to go to Atlanta, host an improved Cleveland team, and then you got to go to Cincinnati. The Buccaneers could be staring down the gauntlet of starting off 2-5, maybe even 1-6. And if they do that, their season is cooked. And you could see this thing going down really quickly. And that's kind of what I've envisioned for the Buccaneers in 2018. And granted, if you're a Bucs fan, take joy in the fact that I didn't pick your team to do big things, so we're avoiding the Jeff jinx. So maybe that means something for you. Giving you something to grasp onto. I just don't see a lot of reason for faith and confidence in this. To me, I still haven't seen Jameis Winston in his first 3 years really truly establish that he could be that type of alpha dog dude at the quarterback position. I have significant questions about Dirk Cutter and his coaching abilities and whether or not he's going to be able to keep this locker room together. When I look at it right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Dirk Cutter is the first coach fired in the 2018 season, which would be justice for Lovie Smith. It would be. Because this Buccaneers team's heading in the wrong trajectory, and I just don't see where they got much better in the offseason, or a lot of things are going to change. I can see the start to the season being really bad, and even if Jameis starts to get in a rhythm and flow, it's going to be too late, and this team could be battling it out for a top 5 pick. I think they're a 3-13, maybe 4-12 team, and I'd be surprised if they're not bringing up the distant ass-naked rear of the NFC South.